This pandemic gives you an opportunity to really look at the person you are with. Because you have to start to identify what's your shit, what's their shit, and what's our shit together.
Did you push record?
And thanks for tuning back into our second act with Paige and Silka.
For your second act of life. Hey, Silka.
Hi, Paige. Paige, well, we are week 3, I believe, in the pandemic. We are talking about relationships. And, you know, we're laughing a little bit because as you're thrown together 24/7, that can be, that's tough. That's tough on the best of relationships, let alone, you know, in our case, meaning the over 50 long-term marriages, you know, there's stuff over the years that you're irritated with anyway. We can snicker about it a little bit, but the obvious problem is that these are some real issues coming up for people, and that divorce rates are skyrocketing. You know, that's been documented already in China. And yeah, people are starting to lose it here. Let's talk about that. How do we, one, deal with it being together 24/7, and whether or not, you know, we have an ability to save or make our relationship better or not.
Okay, so you hit a lot of different things. Look, I love how you throw me this stuff. So first of all, the first thing that came to my mind was when I hear things like, the way he's putting the trash bag in the trash can is just irritating me, and the OCD type of things. And I'm like, okay, all of those type of examples isn't what's really irritating you. So, and off screen, when you and I were talking, I had said, you know, we hear tips all the time. Take your time, find your space, do this. Great, 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 great. But here's the deal, and this is a space that I come from. This pandemic gives you an opportunity to really look at the person you are with. Mm-hmm. Because most of the time, people deny, avoid, procrastinate, and distract from the real rooted issues of what's been going on for a long time or a short amount of time that no one's talked about, or no one wants to bring up, or the other person doesn't want to deal with. And I'm a firm believer in the universe says, okay, here you go. I'm going to bring this to you, and you have an opportunity now. So one thing, yes, there's going to be COVID divorces. Absolutely. So if you're in a relationship that you were already thinking about, I don't know if this is working for me, long before a pandemic comes, you might have already been on that trajectory of, I don't want to be here anymore. And maybe this is magnifying for you all the reasons why you don't want to be there anymore. And maybe it's solidifying that, yep, when this thing lifts, I'm done. That's one thing. You could be in a relationship where it's been going great and bam, you're like, what the hell? All this stuff is going on, because maybe you weren't looking at what was really happening underneath things. This gives you an opportunity to start bringing up what's been bothering you, what hasn't been talked about, what you're experiencing in so many different ways, thoughts and feelings. So I'll just pause there for a second, Silka, so you can jump in there.
Well, what comes to mind, you know, when I read some of the articles and what you've just described is a little bit similar as in when somebody retires. You know, you get into retirement. You were lived apart, and that's of course, you know, for our age group, that's why there's gray divorce. You know, you go into your golden years retirement. I was like, oh my God, I don't even know this person. And that is what this pandemic is doing to people of all age groups, throwing them together.
Yeah, throwing them together and seeing things that maybe you didn't really want to see or that are really magnifying for you to see. And it also gives you an opportunity to sit down and say, okay, how do we want to live together during this pandemic? Mm-hmm. And you know me, Silka, I'm all about, we need to talk about this. Let's put stuff down. So let me just jump right into, if you're ready and you want to do these ideas, I've told my clients, I do it with my own husband, of writing down things that, okay, let's talk about some issues that maybe I've been getting on your nerves about. You've been getting on my nerves about. Okay, what is it really about? What needs are not being met? What frustrations have been going on? What do you need while we're pent up together right now? What am I doing that's bothering you right now? So it's really breaking it down, breaking it down, breaking it down. But before you fly into each other and just vomit all over each other, step back and start to write down some of these things of what's going on inside of you. Because you have to start to identify what's your shit, what's their shit, and what's our shit together.
Yeah, and it's funny or not is that we tend to, this is a perfect example that we focus on the negative so much. Because why couldn't being thrown together mean you see all the oh wow, I get this, all this great stuff all the time, but somehow anything negative that happens to us, anything negative we deal with, we amplify. And I mean, I don't know if I'm being Pollyanna or not in thinking that, let's try to change your mindset and see the positive. I mean, is that just asking too much when you're just cooped up and
No, I think that's great. I think sometimes too, it's really good to start, writing down what are all of the positive things that someone does for you, and what are the issues that really haven't been dealt with that need to be talked about, so more of the positive can be even more expanded and even more, magnified. I mean, that's really, really important. And most of the time, it comes back to us not getting what we need. So, what are we not doing for ourselves? What are we not expressing in a way that someone can hear us? Not when you're attacking or yelling or putting digs at someone, because they're not going to hear you and they're not going to want to, and it's not going to look good being, incarcerated together sometimes, right? So, yes, so the positives, absolutely. So also make a list of all the good things that this person's doing. And at the same time, you got to deal with the issues that haven't been dealt with. Or not. I mean, you don't have to deal with that either. You can keep avoiding, keep denying, but when you're stuck in a house, there's nowhere to avoid. There's nowhere to deny. The tension can be cut with a knife. The issues will come up all around. So, and a lot of times people are afraid or they don't have the skills to know, how do I do this? What do we do? And there's more and more people reaching out, getting virtual counseling, coupling sessions because of what's going on.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, and I asked you that off camera, and I'll ask you again because I think I think it's a good question. Is it advisable? I mean, I know what you're going to say, but is it really advisable to dig that when you're under so much stress and so much tension, you can't get away from each other? Really, is it advisable to go someplace that you don't know where you're going to end up?
What do you mean, go someplace?
Well, just keep going down that rabbit hole of of getting worse and just getting more and more angry.
Well, remember that whatever issues are coming up were already there before the pandemic. So that says that those have never been addressed. Now is a good time to address them, but you have to learn how to address them in succinct ways that each person can hear the other person. Yeah. So, and then there's the flip side. I see the flip side too of, and I see this more and more. I just had another case last week of a woman who wanted to get out of the house because of the violence in the house, but now she's even more stuck because how do I leave now? And that's a whole other issue, and that's a whole other show within itself. Yeah. But just to add that for anybody who is listening right now too, there are shelters you can go to. That there's a lot of people in that shelter that are really connecting with each other in so many different ways within a pandemic. But it's a whole other issue is how do you leave the house when they're both there and you can't take the kids or you can't get out? Like, how do you do that? So that's a whole other issue that's going on too. And if I can throw another thing, addiction. Huge. People are drinking a lot more or smoking a lot more. So if you have somebody in the house who you guys have not dealt with the issues and one person or both are now turning to more alcohol or other substances, that's going to make things 1,000 times worse.
Yeah. Yeah. No, great points. Great points.
I know they're not happy points, and that's why, you can reach out to people virtually
Yeah.
and start to have sessions on this. That's the thing. Just because you're closed in a house doesn't mean you can't have virtual sessions to get support that you need. Even if your significant other doesn't want to be a part of it, get it for yourself, because maybe you'll learn things about yourself that you can bring to the table for your or with your significant other.
Well, the bottom line, and we're coming to an end, is that there's going to be issues just by the nature of being
Yeah.
together 24/7, and that there is, on a positive perspective, it is an opportunity to
Always.
fix some stuff, or learn, or make some decisions that have been put off for way too long.
Yeah.
Let me throw it back to you for closing, Paige.
I'm all about, digging to the roots. And it's an opportunity for you to either shift and change to a stronger, better relationship, or it's a way for you to go, okay, I'm ready to be finished with this. I'm ready to move on. This pandemic helped me to move forward into a different way and to make different choices, and now I'm ready for it. So wherever you are, take the opportunity to dig deep into the weeds, dig deep into the roots, because that's where you'll find solutions.
Okay. Well, and on that, Paige, we'll see you next time on Our Second Act with Paige and Silka.
For your second act of life.
Bye.
Bye.
If you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right over here. Just click on through to YouTube, and when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too. We'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.